Welcome to Book Club Preview. Today we're looking at an American classic, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. And this is one of the, I would say, most read books for high school students. Almost every high school student in America, or at least 50%, read this book. And we're looking at this book together, Chapter 1. So it starts off with the perspective. This is all coming from Jean Louise Finch, who goes by the name of Scout mostly, or the nickname Scout. And it's all from this young girl's perspective. I can't remember how old she is, maybe like first grade or something like that. 6 years old, 7. And it's just kind of going through her life from her perspective. And it starts off talking about Simon Finch, who is like the great grandfather of Atticus Finch, their dad. And this guy fled from England because he wanted to be a Methodist, practice that kind of Christianity. Came over to America after some travels and started I don't know which kind of farm, just a small farm. I think it had almost everything there. And slowly the family expanded into where Atticus Finch arrived. Atticus Finch decided to study law and became a lawyer, and his younger brother is studying medicine, becoming a doctor. And so we kind of get a history of the Finch family. And the town that they live in. I think this auto-corrected on me. Markham? I can't remember how they spell it. But the city that they're from and the area that they live in. And it's just a small town out in the middle of the South somewhere, where everyone kind of knows everyone else. Scout starts to tell us a little bit about Calpurnia, which is kind of the housekeeper in the house, this black lady that probably does the laundry, the cleaning, makes the food, stuff like that, who Scout thinks is like the worst woman in the world, who always disciplines her or gets her in trouble with her dad. And then she also talks about the different neighbors that she has in the neighborhood, which I can't remember them all, but we'll get to know them soon. One day, while Scout and her brother Jim were walking around and playing, they run into a boy named Charles Baker Harris, who they just call Dill. And with Charles and Jim, they're kind of talking about each other and kind of being clever and saying things towards each other about who's bigger, stronger, smarter, things like that. Dill's really small, but he's really sharp, his mind. And so as Jim says things, Dill says something back. But then Jim can say, well, yeah, I can prove myself. And so after they talk a while, finally Jim feels like, okay, Dill can play with us. Scout tries to say something to him, and Jim's like, shush, let him be. And that kind of shows, oh, okay, he's been accepted. So once Dill gets accepted in the friend group, they just have a great time in the summer. Usually when Jim and Scout are playing, Jim's like the good guy and Scout has to be the bad guy. But now that Dill's here, Dill usually plays the bad guy and Scout plays someone else, maybe like the girl or something. And so they have a really great time. But slowly, after playing for days and weeks, those games get a little boring. Oh, they're also making like a clubhouse too. And that leads to this question of Boo Radley, who Dill just is so curious about. Who lives in that house? What's going on there? And then from this, we hear all sorts of different stories, okay? None of them, we don't know if any of them are true. Okay, there's like this young kid who's crazy that lives there. there's this kid that used to play with these other bad kids and he got in trouble, and so he's locked up in his home forever, and he's like chained to his bed. And I mean, there's all these different stories about Boo Radley and this house, and why the mom and the dad never come out, and how even the black people that live in the town, they won't go by the house at night. They'll go around the house because they're so scared of the people that live there. Eventually, the father dies. I can't remember his name, Mr. Radley. And then Mr. Radley's older son moves in and kind of takes the house over. Still, no one has seen Boo, but they know that Boo lives there. All of this talking ends up to a big dare, which is saying, usually for guys, okay, girls don't do this that much, but it's a pride thing. Like, I'll put your pride to the test. I dare you to touch that spider, okay, to do something scary. And if you do it, oh, you're a man. You accomplished that. In this case, there's even a little bet attached to it. I'm not sure what exactly they have. Maybe some cards that they're trading or some toy that they're trading. But there's something there that the boys are putting on the line. So finally, after 3 days, Jim has had it. Dill says, man, I think people in my hometown are more brave than people in your town, because we would do that. And then finally Jim says, all right, I'm going. But if he kills us all, it's your fault. And so Jim runs over to the house, he touches the door, and he runs back home. And the two kids are watching him, and he just runs right past them. And then they turn and they run right with him. And then they run all the way home. And then they look over at the house. And maybe, just maybe, they see a curtain move off to the side. And that is how the chapter ends. A few vocabulary words here. The first one is assuage, which is like to calm down or to compromise. Making a pile. This is making a load of money, making a ton of money. Tyrannical means you are the leader and no one says no to you. You are the tyrant, the leader with power. And that is how Scout describes, what's her name? Calpurnia. There we go. Sorry about that. And that's how Scout describes Calpurnia as tyrannical. Cowlick, unfortunately I don't have any hair, but oftentimes guys or girls, usually guys more because girls' hair is usually longer and heavier, but guys will have some part of their hair that just goes like a cow just licked it. And whatever they do, however they comb it, they brush it, it just goes boink and sticks right back up. That is a cowlick. That leaves us with studied and found acceptable. Okay, so this is when Jim and Dill first meet and they're kind of talking back and forth. We're finally, after Jim studies Dill and he says, okay, this guy can be our friend. He's acceptable. He's going to be someone that we play with. Now, none of this is clear and clean. It's just all done with talking. But the thing that Scout finds out is after she tries to say something mean to Dill, Jim defends him, and that means Jim has found Dill acceptable. Malevolent means evil, wanting to cause hurt or pain. So something in Boo Radley's house, in the Radley home, is malevolent, scary, evil. Bought cotton, which describes itself in the book, but just to make sure, that's a term in this time to mean they don't do anything. Okay, they're lazy, they're a bum, they don't have a job. They buy cotton. Now, we don't use this expression anymore. A lot of words from the story are so old, we don't use them anymore, like this one. But it was very popular back then. And that leaves us with our discussion question. Do you have, from your childhood, a story like Boo Radley's? maybe a neighbor or a house or a place or something in your school that is this story that's been passed on. No one knows the truth. No one knows what's really going on, but there's some scary part of some story that everyone knows. Do you have something like that from your childhood? And of course, please make your own discussion question. That is all the time that we have for today. But thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Book Club Preview. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.